Hey guys, it's September 23rd, 2018. It's a pretty nice day here in Seattle. Let's start here. Raspberry is looking good. It's getting very long, and I believe there's another individual vine that's covered up by the catnip. And the tomato is a mess. Gonna harvest some of those and probably clean it up. And here's a little fly thing munching on the catnip flowers. Rhubarb looks pretty much the same, still sending out new leaves. The saffron, it's actually sprouting now. Let me just quickly show you the sprouts right there. And there's a few more over here. But yeah, I'll make a separate video which will keep track of the progress for the saffron. Calla lily looks pretty much the same, just slowly dying back now. Potato, you can see it's looking very nice. The potatoes I think are getting bigger actually. So yeah, the harvest is probably going to be very fruitful. Hydrangea looks the same. The dahlia, I moved it over here. You can see it's like very messy, but it's still flowering. But the whole plant is like heavily infected by powdery mildew, so I'm gonna clean that up. Blueberry, and then let's take a look at the strawberry. Strawberry is, I think it might be slowly dying back too. Some leaves are changing color, but most of them are still sending out new leaves, so I don't think that's the case. And right here, you can see all the runners are still here. And the other saffron pot, it looks pretty much the same. There's nothing going on. The wildflower pot, let's take a closer look at the lacy phacelia. Remember that darker version? It's the one on the left. You can see the flower is a little darker than the regular lacy phacelia. Yeah, and then the other wildflower pot, the plain corpse, is still there. Blueberry, you can see the leaves are definitely changing color now. Lily of the valley, it's definitely dying back. Mulberry, the leaves are kind of getting curly and a little yellowish, so I think it's dying back too. Oh, and here's a little ladybug larvae. I'm glad they're kind of reproducing in my garden. That also means there might be some aphids around. Asparagus looks pretty much the same. Still sending out new leaves. It's not dying back yet. So, probably later. Lavender, succulents. And California poppy, it's flowering, but you can see the plant again is infected by powdery mildew. English ivy, I think I'm gonna cut one of the vine for indoor to make the indoor one folder. Peony, it's definitely dying back. Artichoke, hydrangea, and look at that. I think that center thing is overwinter buds. Catnip, rosemary. This rosemary is looking very healthy actually. And the lavender, still flowering, still sending out some new growth. And as you can see, I moved the succulents and the pineapple because it's been kind of rainy, so I don't want the soil to get too wet. So I moved it over here for a few days, and I'm gonna move them indoor pretty soon. The pineapple is looking pretty good. It's sturdy. And lastly, we have the grape. Looks pretty much the same. some of the tentacle thingy is attaching to the structure, which is good. And that's look at the hydrangea. You can see some buds forming at the nodes of the plant. Even at the base, you can see some buds forming, and this is an indication that the plant is starting to go dormant. And for the indoor garden, this staghorn fern looks pretty much the same, so not too much to talk about. The air plants, you can see the older leaves are kind of dying, but the new leaves are growing. Prayer plant, you can see it's still sending out new leaves with nice coloration, and I'm not sure if you can see the new growth. Hoya plant is looking good. You can see this new growth is getting longer now. Yeah, all over the plants there's a lot of new growths. Like right here, and I believe there's another one over here. The Phalaenopsis leaf, you can see the new leaf is getting bigger now. And the root growth is pretty healthy. You can see right here, this root is actually attaching to the cork. So that's awesome. And the spider plant is looking pretty much the same. This guy is pretty much the same as well. And I kind of organized the pothos vines because it's getting a little too long. You can see I kind of hang it onto the wall like that. Staghorn fern. And you can see I moved the succulents indoor. These guys all look pretty much the same. Now let's look at the orchid. For this one, you can see a new growth coming up from there and another one coming out from here. So I think I'm just gonna keep fertilizing the orchid. And for the mini oncidium, the flowers are slowly coming out now. The Venus slipper orchid is doing well. The flower is still here, you can see. And right here, the English ivy, as you can see, I cut some vines from outside and then stick them to the soil right here. So that's gonna make the pot look fuller. This guy too, I've been doing the same thing, so the pot is looking a lot fuller now. Snake plants, spider plants, and orchids, some new growth, another staghorn fern. Right here, another succulent. I think this guy is doing okay. And the ficus tree, you can see some new leaves coming up. That's a good sign. Probably indicate the salt has been washed out from the soil. And the succulents, they all look the same. And yeah, I moved this guy indoor too. So I further pruned the hydrangea, as you can see. And I also pruned the tomato. So it's a lot cleaner now. Not sure if it's gonna regrow though. And here's all the garden waste and the leftover tomatoes. And I separated the green ones. You can see there's a lot of them from the red ones.